Hi, it's Charlene Sinjenko from Powerhouse, and I'm doing another conversation leading up to the Sunshine Coast Business Recovery Forum on June 25th. And I'm excited to be chatting with Stafford Lumley and Connor Lowe from Smitty's Oyster House. Thank you guys both for taking a few minutes to chat with me today. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure, sure.
Thanks. And I'm going to jump right into it. We have been talking a lot about just reflecting on what the last 90 days have been like in terms of trying to do business here on the Sunshine Coast, and also kind of reflecting on how we're best preparing for the next 90 days. And I was just wondering if you could both, maybe Stafford, go ahead, but wondering if you could both speak to that a little bit.
Sure. I mean, clearly when this hit, there was a great amount of uncertainty. We had just reopened mid-February. We had just started getting into a groove. We were looking forward to the spring where our sales ramp up. And then, of course, we were looking forward to the summer where we are literally can't, the last few years, we can't do any more business than we do every day without building another restaurant, which is great. But at the present time, the latter part of those 90 days, our seating is reduced to about 40% of what it should be. My biggest fear now is that if we miss that summer season, if our seating capacity stays low, even with reduced labor, it really doesn't affect your bottom line over the winter months, which you're really trying to save up for during the summer. And this is indicative with any restaurant on the Sunshine Coast. It just is what it is. It's, it's balls to the wall all summer. And then once about mid-October hits, it's crickets. So my biggest fear now is what that's going to hold. So I think instead of sitting around and waiting, we've begun to take some different avenues to maybe expand our revenue base from not just customers with butts in seats, but we're looking at doing some value-added products and getting our products to our customers who don't necessarily have to get to the restaurant. So that's things we're looking at now.
I love those ideas. I know that so many of my friends, as soon as they hear that I'm from Gibsons, one of the first things they say is, "Oh, we were down by the water, sitting outside having oysters." And I'm like, yeah, I know those guys.
Yeah.
Connor, you were talking about just the challenge and the opportunity of creating that experience, that people do love about Smitty's, and just trying to figure out how to create that experience in a different way for the next few months.
Let's see. Well, like I said, we were, we based our whole business, whether it was the service of the food or the service style, the menu items themselves. We based it all on taking meals and turning them into social occasions rather than sustenance occasions. It wasn't about, feeding people, hunkered down over their individual plate. It was about feeding big groups and having people sit next to people who they maybe never met before and chat with them and get menu recommendations and wine recommendations and so on and so forth. And obviously, we still have the big table outside, but that's because it, weighs several tons, and we really hope that it can be in use again. But we've had to rethink how we do business and how we create that fun atmosphere while keeping our customers and ourselves safe. And that's been a challenge, but I think that for the most part, like aside from space in between, I think for the most part we've managed okay.
I love that you guys are thinking about, we're all pivoting like crazy right now. And I love that you're thinking about potentially the value added products. I know there's people from throughout BC and Canada, the States, there's a ton of folks that I think if they knew that they could have a piece of Smitty's wherever they were, I think that would be a really interesting way to diversify.
Yeah, our Stafford has a plan for the upstairs. The upstairs, it used to be 4 tables, and unfortunately none of the tables, no matter how we put them, it's going to be,
Yeah.
6 feet apart from each other. And so all we could have would be one table of potentially 6 people upstairs. And if anybody who sat upstairs in the summertime knows, it's hot up there. It's
Yeah.
really hot. So,
Yeah.
so we kind of we're, he's got ideas about how to make that work. And then I just have to make it happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. I'm curious, we were chatting just a little bit, if you're just looking at the next 90 days, just trying to have as successful of a summer as possible, what most comes up for you right now, just in terms of getting your team back in place, or things that you would want to be able to talk about with other people in the community? Anything. I'm just kind of curious, when you think the next 90 days, what's some of the stuff that comes up for you?
The main thing that comes up to me is staffing.
Yeah.
Normally, it's a problem of not finding enough people because we're so busy that we just need more bodies, more sets of hands, and we can't fit them. And so, there's only so much hiring I can do. And right now, it's more of a problem of people not wanting to work with, getting a couple grand for free for, spending a summer sitting on beaches instead.
Right.
That's kind of my issue right now. But I'm not complaining about CERP. I believe that it's necessary for a lot of people, but I certainly wouldn't. I don't know. I wouldn't take it if I could have a job instead.
Right. It's a tricky line. Yeah, it's a tricky line to walk between. Yeah, I mean, it's great when it's necessary, and as things are ready to come back to work, and again, because we've never had to do this, like we're writing the rule book, so it's a little bit tricky. I'm curious if you and Stafford and the team, like, we're trying to really promote on the 25th, just having people come together, even if they end up talking to people in a group that are not from the restaurant industry, or maybe they are, like, just that whole idea of doing small group breakouts where you're just throwing around some ideas, you're talking some things out, and using that kind of mastermind collective brain sort of idea. Have you guys had the opportunity to sit down and do that, like, in the past? Or I'm curious if that's something that would be helpful.
Stafford and I came to this industry from very, very different backgrounds. He was an accountant, I was an economist. We just kind of fell into this industry, and we both think about it in very different ways from a lot of people in our business. And in my experience, I go to food shows and that kind of thing, and in my experience, a lot of times when I talk with other people in our industry, I find it's people complaining about the same things, but not really coming up with new ideas. So I would be interested in talking to people from other industries to kind of get their input. People in other restaurants, they're facing the exact same problems as us.
Right.
I don't feel like complaining with other, sitting around and complaining with other people. I'd rather talk to people from other industries who maybe have a fresh take on things. So I think that's good.
Very cool. Well, I apologize that we missed part of the conversation with Mr. Stafford, but I'm happy to have had a chance to connect with you and have a bit of a conversation. I'll definitely make sure you guys both get all of the information for June 25th.
8:30 to 11.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you for the conversation. And if there's anything that I can do, that we can do, I hope that you guys will turn around and reach out, because I'm excited to see where some things can go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Great. Thank you, Connor, very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.